Hi, my name's Ahana, and I'm a rising senior in high school. I'm a volunteer EMT in training. I also co-direct an organization up in my hometown that basically diversifies the medical field, particularly in the military. I also have played the flute for 8 years, and I am a section leader for the flute section. Yeah, that's pretty much me. So today we'll be talking about how Indian culture has influenced other cultures around the world. So I know that in our last live we talked briefly about the potential for a connection between Malaysia and the language spoken in Kerala, Malayalam, but so I actually did some research just using the internet and scholarly articles available to the public, and I actually found that there are no correlations. So Malaysia's etymology is derived from it was a group of states, not really sovereign or anything. They were just kind of regions, and the largest of which was the Malay region. And in 1946, they were kind of conglomerated unofficially, and they were called the Malayan Union. In the Malaya region. And then in 1963, they officially became a country known as Malaysia. So Malayalam in Kerala, by contrast, is a Dravidian language spoken in the southern state of Kerala. And its etymology is unclear, but just through research, I have found that they are unrelated and easily mistaken for each other. It's really interesting how the name Kerala came about. Kerala actually means land of the coconuts. In Old Malayalam, Kera means coconut and Alam means land, so land of the coconuts. And the south portion of India actually has a lot of interesting cultural significance. So actually the catamaran, the two-hulled small fishing boat, comes from the Tamil word kattamaram, which means tied wood. So what would happen is people in the south, particularly the people of the Baravar caste, so basically the people that did most of the fishing back then, they tied together logs to make like a small fishing boat, and it turned out to be very effective. And so it kind of became popularized in the West once the subcontinent was colonized. Another invention that isn't typically attributed to the South that I was personally super shocked to learn about was Damascus steel. Based on the name, you'd think it's a Syrian thing, because Damascus is the capital of Syria, but Damascus steel actually originated in the South. So Damascus steel is a very strong type of steel that's known for its watery, wavy patterns, and it's both flexible and rigid at the same time. Now, it was originally made in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, both the states that my family's from. And apparently what happened is Arabs came to the south and took the steel, and there was a major arms trade in Damascus that kind of built the city at the time, in the medieval age. And it became popular in the West through Damascus, which is how it became known as Damascus steel. Another interesting connection between the Middle East and the South is, in the South we love our coffee a lot, especially filter coffee. It's super strong and super popular. Now, personally, I thought coffee was from India. I didn't realize that it was actually a Middle Eastern cultivation. So what happened is a Sufi poet living in Kerala went on Hajj in the Middle East, and he came back and he brought coffee with him, and he introduced it to the southern population, and here we are. We all love coffee. So another interesting connection that comes from the south of India is actually in the Hebrew Bible. I'm probably gonna butcher this, but tukium or tuki means parrot in the Hebrew Bible, but that it's derived from topke in Tamil, which means the tail of a male peacock. Another interesting connection, just between etymologies, again, not specifically Tamil, but other Indian etymologies is most of the languages in India are based off of the root language Sanskrit, and apparently most Eurasian languages are as well. You know, we're talking, you know, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and even like Pakistan, and even into Afghanistan. And, you know, it kind of stops as you go closer to the Middle East, but that whole series of languages is actually derived a great deal from Sanskrit. And you know, Sanskrit has an influence in Latin-based languages, Romantic languages as well. Like words you wouldn't expect, like cow comes from gao in Sanskrit. Madhyam is medium. Father comes from the word pitar. Mother comes from the word mother. Just some strange connections. There are other etymological connections as well. Shampoo, even. The word shampoo comes from the Hindi word shampoo, which describes a Turkish bath method involving oil to cleanse your hair. Kashmir, the state of Kashmir is the root word for Kashmir, which is, you know, it was kind of named after the goats that produced the prized wool used in Kashmir. Pajama, actually. So pajama comes from the Persian words pe jama, pe meaning leg, jama meaning covering. So pajama means like covering. In Hindi, in Sanskrit-based languages, that got adapted into pajama, which is used a lot in that language, and you know, it's kind of brought to the West through various methods and transformed into pajama. Jungle. So jungle comes from the Hindi word jungle. Bangle comes from the Rajasthani word bangri, which means like bangle. And then loot, actually the word loot comes from the Hindi word lut, which means to take. So when you're looting, you are taking. So just some interesting etymologies there. You know, what's interesting is with a lot of these words, they didn't enter, or these words based on Indian languages, they didn't enter English until the late 18th century. So if you look at history and you know what happened in the late 18th century that caused all of these Hindi words to be fused into the language, well, late 18th century is when India began becoming colonized by the West and Western powers. So that's sort of when these languages began to fuse, and there are so many words like jungle, like bangle, and loot that have just become such a part, like such a normal part of the English language that actually weren't around until pretty recently, if you consider the history of the English language. Just some interesting etymologies. I've been getting super interested in etymologies for the past few weeks. Not just for, you know, Indian stuff, but, you know, other things as well. It's really interesting. So take a look at that.